Jalen Rieger getting traded to Minnesota changes nothing.
6'4" guys running 4.4s. These guys don't grow on trees. And a lot of times I'm willing to bet on, especially long term, on the freak athlete.
You don't ever want to overreact to what guys look like in preseason. There's been a ton of preseason all-stars that never make rosters or never pan out. All right. Good morning, Belly Up Fantasy Live. How we all doing?
That's right.
out
You know
there?
that whistle wakes you up. So let's get into this.
Yeah, I could use it this morning. We're back. I am back from my vacation. I missed everybody Wednesday night. I wish I could have been here and put one on for everybody, but it was nice to have some time away with the family. But I am ready to not be in a hotel room with my 3 kids for a while. I love them all dearly, but yeah, let's watch some football and talk about some football. How you doing there, Kevin?
I'm doing great. And, Christmas is 1 week away and holiday, spirits is in the air. So we're doing good here.
Some kind of spirits in the air. Yeah.
Some kind of spirits up there. And fortunately, we got blue skies here. And so it's a great Sunday morning and we're ready.
You guys are doing better than we're doing. Then we've had a ton of snow up here, my area here, in the last couple of days. In fact, I had to clear the driveway out before we could even leave on Wednesday night for our vacation, and we came back and there's more. And so yeah, I'll be getting right off the air here and probably jumping right out into the driveway with a snowblower before I watch any football this morning. But
hey.
Either way, we're here. We're ready to go. The fantasy playoffs have started in most
We're
leagues.
here. So congrats to everybody out there who's in the playoffs. That is a real accomplishment because everybody you're going up against has got the same goal as you. And
right.
So,
if you're in any kind of league, if you're in any kind of league whatsoever, hopefully you know everybody in your league. I mean, if you play, I always like to throw in a couple of public leagues anyway, just to have some fun. But hopefully, you know the people you're playing with, but like you just said, hopefully everybody else in your league has been doing their research too.
Right.
And it's not just a
making their
cakewalk
claims and all that stuff. And
exactly. So if you've made it this far, hey, there you go.
Whatever happens the rest of the way, thumbs up.
It's all gravy. Yeah. This is what we play for. The playoffs have started. And so. We've already had 4 games. Normally by now,
4 games are in the books, and I can't imagine any game where we'll match a 33, point comeback like yesterday's game.
What an absolute burner of a game! I mean, we were still on vacation, obviously, and I'm checking my phone because we're at a fun park with the boys, and my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old are doing their thing, and they don't care about football.
No,
and so I keep checking. I keep checking the game cast on the phone. Holy cow, 17-0. That's all right. Yeah. Hey, especially Packer fan. All right. And I know it's just a matter of time before the Vikings are going to win the division anyway, but it's nice to see them have to sweat a little bit, right? And you got 33-0 at halftime. And my dad calls me and he's like, "You watching this game?" He's like, "No team's ever come back from." I said, "Dad, I honest to God, I said this. I said, this would not be the weirdest thing, though, if the Vikings were the team to come back from it, because we know they have the weapons to do it.
Right.
And we know that, it was Indianapolis. It wasn't like they were, some juggernaut team. They weren't facing the 49er defense. And I said, it would not be the weirdest thing for this team to come back. And so then again, I'm visiting with my family. Then we got to my family's house and we're all kind of just following on the phones. We couldn't watch it on my brother didn't have the network. And we're all just, you're kidding me. They're within 2 touchdowns. Oh, that they need a 2-point conversion. And all of a sudden, as we're leaving, my niece came running out into the driveway and said, "They tied it. It's tied. Oh my God." And we're all like, "Are you kidding me?" Great game. Great finish.
Yeah. I was telling my wife while we were watching this game, and it's, like you said, 33-0. And I'm like, I don't really care who wins this game, but can you please throw it to Justin Jefferson? Please.
Right.
And so they, in fact, did throw him like 12 passes and a touchdown and 23 fantasy points. So I was quite pleased about that.
Well, and that's the fun thing. And about this time, I mean,
fantasy-wise,
week,
that was a great game for me.
every week we're watching and okay, who's scoring the points, and oh man, I need them to you got to throw the next touchdown to my tight end, or you got to throw come on, just give my guy some carries.
Yeah, please, can you please? Yeah.
And it looked rough for a while for anybody who started any Vikings.
It looked bleak. No
I
question
picked up
about
the
that.
Vikings defense in a couple of leagues thinking we're following the Colts. They suck. And it looked pretty bleak for a while, but we ended up getting some decent performances out of this game, and just all in one half. Cousins had 4 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook, 95 yards.
Dalvin Cook ran it. And what about KJ Osborne? Now, where is this dude coming from?
KJ Osborne is one. I think he's interesting in dynasty formats. I like him in dynasty formats because Adam Thielen, for as good a player as he is, and as long as he's been doing it, he will not be there forever. And he is getting older, and he is honestly, he's getting more expensive relative to his production. But KJ Osborne has talent. I mean, he's a good third wide receiver, and he's probably one of the better third wide receivers in the game.
Yeah. So going forward, because he's universally available in fantasy, I was looking at it. So is that a guy that you pick up in redraft?
Yeah.
Okay. Because no one is still going to be the number 3 receiver on that team, and they're not going to face the Colts every week.
No, they're not. No, they're not going to face the Colts every week, and he is the number 3 receiver. But he does have some value. I'm not saying I'd jump out and throw him on my roster, but
because he must have had 33 fantasy points or something.
If you've made it this far, and somehow you're still thin on wide receiver, you're looking at dart throws. You're looking at shots to take. You're looking at guys like him, like Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had a touchdown yesterday.
That's right. He did yesterday.
I mean, you're not going to go out and pick up T. Higgins right now. You're not going to find.
No, you're not going to do that. Peoples-Jones is available in most leagues, and he's the number 2 receiver. Right. So that's a little different.
He's the number 2 receiver, plus his game style matches up with Deshaun Watson's game style. And
much better, apparently, than Amari Cooper's stuff.
Right? I mean, that's a situation where, I would be going out, especially, if you've got bench spots, and you should by now, like we said, we've talked about it before. It's a different roster construction now that you're in the playoffs.
That's right. Absolutely. You throw out the regular season altogether, right?
Right. And do you really need that 5th wide receiver you've been carrying all along who really has not done anything? Or do you want to pick up somebody like a Donovan Peoples-Jones who has actually started to come on and looks like he may be peaking at the right time during the fantasy playoffs? So KJ Osborne's a guy I would take a look at if you're thin on wide receiver at this point, because we know that he is in a passing offense. We know that there are throws available to him even as the 3rd option. And then, if anything were to happen to one of their top 2 guys, similar to, like, say, we've said before in the past with, like, Tyler Boyd, if anything were to happen to T. Higgins and or Jamar Chase.
Except Tyler Boyd's production did not really
increase. Boyd did. Yeah. He was a bit of a disappointment this season.
He was, because I picked him up in my league, and then it didn't happen.
No,
so I dropped him back down.
He didn't have that blow up that we kind of all thought. He's still a great 3rd wide receiver. I would still take him, in terms of real football. I would take him
right now.
A lot
he's
of the
questionable, so you might want to put the brakes on that. So.
But no, you mentioned the Vikings with the largest comeback in NFL history. I do remember the second largest comeback in NFL history. Watching that game between the Frank Reich game between the Bills and the Oilers.
In the playoffs, no less.
Yep,
that's right.
In the playoffs. God, that was a great game too. And, you got to give them credit. You got to give the Vikings credit. They did not quit. They do have the offense that can score points in bunches like that.
Right. And they did it to themselves in that first half.
Defensive touchdown and block punt touchdowns. And
right out of the gate, they gave up, the
fumbles
the first kickoff return. And Indianapolis returned that big. And next thing you know, boom, boom, boom. And then Calvin, Dalvin Cook is fumbling the football, and
immediately after having a great big, has a great big run.
Yeah,
very next touch.
And holy crap! It's 17-0. Yeah, and I was just like I said, please throw it to Justin Jefferson, please. So
Well,
I
they
got my
did.
wish on that.
We ended up getting some fun, some nice fantasy production out of that. The Colts, even for all the points that they gave up on defense, if you somehow, for whatever reason, had the Colts DST, you got some decent points because they scored a couple of touchdowns, blocked a kick.
Right. And they had, like you said, they had the special teams play and they had the fumble recovery. And
So, yeah, fun game, good game all
so
around.
giving up the points is not the final when it comes grade. It comes
No. Yeah, because, I mean, yeah, and they were getting to Cousins. They sacked him.
They 7 times.
Yeah.
7.
So, I mean, if you for what they were not a recommended play. I did not recommend them. I didn't
either
because I don't want
There's
anything to do with
playing them.
I do not
home,
want to be facing the Vikings
Minnesota
offense.
at home. So.
No, the Vikings are one of those offenses this year you don't want to be facing on your DST. But
Correct.
good on you, Indianapolis. Good on you, Minnesota. Thanks for giving us an entertaining game to start.
And then Miami and Buffalo was a much more offensive game than I would have ever expected up in Buffalo.
Well, because we thought we were going to get Snowmageddon right away, and it didn't come until the last 8 minutes of the game.
Like it was, during Thanksgiving and all that.
Yeah, they got all the snow beforehand that the fans couldn't stop tossing on the field. Wake up,
right?
People. But then they finally got the snow that they were expecting the whole game. Didn't come until about 8 minutes left in the game or so, or middle of the fourth quarter. But it ended up being a really fun game.
It was a fun game, and
I read somebody's quote this morning saying that the Dolphins can be encouraged by what happened, even though they lost a hard luck game last night.
I always hate to hear quotes like that because you lost.
But here's the thing.
They've lost 3 in a row now.
This was the point of the quote, though, was that they look like they're still going to the playoffs. And if they go to the playoffs,
has to be a concern. Big time.
If they are going to the playoffs, it now looks like they will be going on the road, and they will probably be going on the road to some cold weather team, possibly Buffalo themselves, possibly Cincinnati, so on and so forth, Baltimore or wherever. They may be going on the road, in cold weather, and it did not affect them at all. Everybody, again, I've said it before that I think we overplay the effect of weather on teams from warm weather cities or cold weather cities. Oh, this cold weather city has to go down and play in the humidity. Humidity sucks.
Humidity really sucks.
You're not talking about a bunch of dudes who only have lived in cold, freezing weather.
Right. They played football at Nebraska
and they've
wherever,
come from all over the country, all over the world.
Right.
In some cases,
Minnesota and
likewise for the dudes on Miami. Miami has guys who went to college in cold weather cities, who grew up in cold weather cities, were born in the Midwest and the Northeast. And
anybody like us that, because I grew up in the Midwest.
Right. Yeah.
And so I know what it's like to get up in it's -5.
Yeah.
I know what that is.
You live in Texas now, but it's not like you're freaked out about
you can keep all that stuff up there. All right. But
it's not like you never lived in it.
Right.
It's not like you have no idea what the hell's coming.
Right.
I think we overplay that sometimes. It's not 1919 when, most of the guys in the Green Bay team were probably from the upper Midwest area, Chicago and Minnesota and UP. But you traveled around that way. It's not like that anymore. Everybody figure it out. These guys live everywhere in the off season and go everywhere in the off season as well, but they grew up in places. So it's not like the Miami team. None of those guys knows what the hell snow's about or cold's about. It's not going to turn 55 degrees and they're all like,
right.
Oh God, put on a coat.
I thought it was kind of funny what Tua said. Well, it snows in Alabama, which it does, but
it
does not compare. Okay.
No, it's not
anything
the same as
that
Buffalo
you would
snow.
see up in the Midwest, Buffalo and, points north. But the rest of those guys, like you said, that went to Nebraska or Michigan or Wisconsin or North Dakota State or whatever else, they know.
They've seen some real snow. We don't shut it down when the clouds hit.
No,
up here we
surely don't.
But it did. The quote, the message behind the quote was they acquitted themselves well in cold weather, so we can kind of toss that narrative out if a playoff happens. If they end up going to Cincinnati and it's going to be cold and it's going to be 25 and possible snow both teams got to play in it. It's going to snow on both sidelines. It's not like it, it's not the Charlie Brown cloud following just the Dolphins around the field if it starts to snow.
Right.
So,
The thing that's got to concern them and Commissioner Cooper and guys that are, as he says, fans of America's team, that defense is going to be their downfall.
Well, yeah, and
they can move the football.
Yeah, they can move football.
Raheem Mostert was everywhere yesterday.
He ran well, 136 yards rushing. They threw the ball well in that weather.
They threw the ball well, and
completely comfortable.
Big time wide receivers, you know that out there. So they can put 30 on you. They can. Yeah. And they just need their defense.
They'll give up 31.
Yeah. Right. They just need their defense to not even be average, just in the top 20.
Yeah, right.
And you know what I mean? So
show up, wake up, get off the bus, boys.
That's right.
But yeah, no, Allen had 4 touchdowns in that game. So that,
well,
for all that we were worried that it might be another one of those low scoring weather related games.
That's what I expected going into that game. Was
Waddle
a low
had
scoring
3 catches for 114.
like not quite like it was when New England and Buffalo played last year.
Crazy wind
I didn't expect any of that. But if the score had been something like 17-14, I would have not have been surprised.
But it could have been a factor had they had the same snow that was happening at the end of the game. If that had started midway through the first quarter or second quarter, we may have seen some suppressed offensive numbers a little bit. But ended up again a good start to your fantasy playoffs. We ended up getting points out of the guys that you were hoping to get points out of for the most part.
Yeah, the only issue I had is I have a first round bye in my one dynasty league, and I got Josh Allen, and of course, as you just mentioned, he goes out for 4 touchdowns. Yeah, so it matters nothing this week.
Yep.
So
no, I got a buy in one of my leagues too, and I'm kind of scanning and trying to see. Okay,
right, you might want to save some of those touchdowns for next week.
Yeah. Hang on to that, Josh. Toss them next week. But even the Ravens and the Browns, now that was a low scoring game. Ravens at the Browns.
That was the game, right? That was.
But Browns get a win. They get a 10-point win over the Ravens for the first time since 2019. They said, and you still had a couple of decent performances in this. Deshaun Watson still has not showed up and been Deshaun Watson yet.
The only downside, because I started Njoku yesterday.
Yeah, I had him in a couple leagues.
And
he had performed very well so far with Watson. He had been one of Watson's favorite targets.
And I had Evan Ingram, who exploded to the tune of 41 fantasy points last week, but he's got a very sorry matchup. So I went ahead and started Njoku, and I got 6 points out of him.
I was going to say it was like 5.8 or something.
Yeah. So I'm relatively confident that Evan Ingram could get 6 fantasy points even against the Cowboys.
Well, and the way that even against the Cowboys, with the way that Trevor Lawrence has been playing the last month and a half or so, that wouldn't be a bad bet. But we got 125 yards out of J.K. Dobbins. He looks completely healthy.
Absolutely.
He looks good he looks okay on the field. He looks like the better of the two backs.
He's the guy to go with over Edwards and I
think so.
And Drake. And so
if you've got Dobbins,
I recommended picking him up. Those that would read my articles, J.K. Dobbins was the guy to pick up.
Yep.
And so that, even though he has a quarterback last week yesterday, that he's just not, and nobody could be. When
Lamar Jackson went down last
nobody could beat Jackson. Nobody could expect
when Super Lamario went down last season, Tyler Huntley stepped in and played.
He played well last week. That was not the case yesterday.
He had a rough go of it yesterday against a defense that has struggled actually this year. The defense is supposed to be really good. They lost Clowney halfway through it. This is a defense that was supposed to be a tough rush in the passer, and they were supposed to have a good secondary, and they were supposed to really shut teams down, and they have not done that so far. They sure shut them down yesterday, though.
They did.
Like I said, Dobbins had his yardage, which is nice, but they held him out of the end zone, which is an accomplishment.
There was no touchdown, or that would have been a nice fantasy post right there. So,
but I mentioned him before, but Donovan Peoples-Jones gets a touchdown in the game, which was fun to see.
But he only had 4 catches, so
he only had 4 catches. Didn't have a ton
of yards. You got to look out
either.
for that, because if you're you'd like to see volume.
Right.
A little bit more volume.
He did get you into double digits at least. He didn't kill you if you played him. If you get 10 plus out of your skill position players, you can't feel terrible about the decision. You didn't make the wrong choice playing him. He scored a touchdown. He just didn't have quite the day you were hoping for.
Just like I didn't make the wrong choice with Njoku, even though I didn't get the production. And sometimes it just don't come.
He's played well. He's been one of Watson's favorite targets. And you had to figure they were going to have to get the ball to their best offensive weapons. Well, Njoku is one of their top offensive weapons, especially when you talk about the pass game. So, no, you didn't make the wrong choice, but we all go into our games. You, me, the other 10, 12, 11 guys in our leagues, everybody goes into every week hoping that, every running back we start scores 3 touchdowns.
Right, scores 20 fantasy points. That's just not reality.
It ain't going to happen to everybody, and it can only happen for a couple of guys a game. But, I mean, even in that game, we got a couple of fun, stat lines to start us off. And then, we don't have to talk about Thursday night.
No, we don't.
But
at least I got 13 fantasy points out of Tyler Lockett before he went down.
Before he broke his finger, and he's
done
for the fantasy season.
Yeah,
for this.
I'm going to have to drop him and maybe one of these. I don't know. Maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones is a replacement.
And this is where it comes in. If you had a Tyler Lockett, because Tyler Lockett is a good wide receiver and has been a good steady presence this year.
Right, and he had like 7 touchdowns in like 7 straight weeks. So he's a player, and so that's a loss.
That's
a loss all the way around.
That'll hurt them as they fight
Seahawks,
now to make the
thumbs
playoffs.
down. I know Justin is extremely happy because his 49ers won, but I was telling my wife they could lose every game. Seahawks, I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Just beat the 49ers. That's it.
And they came up shy on Thursday. George Kittle, 4 catches, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's another George Kittle.
Actually looked like George Kittle. It was a good game.
Right, but he still didn't have the production. He had production, but he didn't have the he didn't have like 8 catches or 6 catches.
They picked and chose their spots.
He's not going to get 2 touchdowns every game. So if you've got Kittle,
right,
that's about as good as you're going to expect out of him the rest of the way.
But you'll definitely take that, especially here come playoff time. McCaffrey had another McCaffrey game, got you north of 25 points or so. I said in my game preview that I wrote up last week for them.
That's right, and it was fabulous.
I said that
if you haven't read it yet, get over there.
I said if Brock Purdy played, if he started, because he was questionable.
That's the guy that you need in fantasy that you need to pay attention to now.
I said if Brock Purdy played, they would not miss a beat, and they didn't.
And they didn't. They didn't.
Rolled right forward. Brandon Ayuk didn't get involved as much as I thought he might with Deebo Samuel out, but Kittle picked up the slack. And Jordan Mason even had a nice 55-yard run, ended up with I think 64 yards for the game. So I mean, even Jordan Mason, the backup running back, got you
right
6.5 or so. Some good games to start the slate here. But we're gonna go ahead.
Get into Sunday. That's right. Just like you were saying.
Let's get into Sunday.
There's quite a few games, and there is no game that's up on the hill, fantasy-wise, like at Minnesota and Detroit last week. So we're going to have to really dig in here and come up with some.
Thinking. Let's take our break here. Let's listen to Manscaped. When we get back on the other side, let's actually look and see if there are some matchups that we want to take a look at here for this Sunday slate.
This holiday season, I'll be giving thanks to our friends over at Manscaped. Everyone loves turkey and stuffing, but you'll be looking like dessert with the help of Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have blessed you with the ultimate Thanksgiving dinner topic. Tell your in-laws about your new cutting-edge ball trimmer and gift yourself or the man in your life the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Trim your pumpkins by going to manscaped.com and use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY for free shipping and 20% off. Think your holiday spread is good? It's time to give thanks to the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for your package. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Think of it as a cornucopia for your balls. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the promo code BellyUpFantasy. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.
All right. Thanks to Dan for that. and thanks
Dan
to
brings
Manscaped
that
for
like
that.
nobody else.
All right. Now, so looking at the Sunday slate here now, real quick, there are some injury concerns
There
to,
are.
to think about,
There
and
are.
we've got about 800 backup quarterbacks playing today as well. Looking at the Eagles Bears game, Chase Claypool is going to be out if you were
That's out.
somehow still counting on him. For the New Orleans Saints, looks like it might be a Taysom Hill type week to start if you're going to
Right. Johnson
roll the
has an
dice with
ankle
him.
issue.
Juwan
So-
Johnson is questionable. Adam Troutman is questionable. It might be a good week to
They're
start
not playing
Taysom Hill when you're
Troutman
looking for
anyway.
him.
So
Right. But with both of their other top two tight ends out, Taysom Hill may actually get some actual tight end run rather than
that would be
just
nice.
a gadget gimmick.
Because he has done next to nothing since he blew the doors off. What was that, week 2 or 3, whatever that
Yeah,
was?
he had that crazy game where, he had every touchdown in the league that week. Pittsburgh, Carolina, Laviska Shenault's questionable. Pickett is not going to play for the Steelers. He's going to be down with a concussion. So it'll be the Mitch Trubisky show there.
Hopefully
in
you're
Carolina
not
for
attaching
Pittsburgh.
your wagon to Mitch Trubisky. Hopefully not.
Yeah, well, unless you're in a two quarterback league and you're desperate.
Even if you're in a
but,
2 quarterback league, hopefully that's not your
look
fate
somewhere else.
this weekend. Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is questionable, but all signs point to him playing for
Yeah, that's a
Jacksonville.
bad matchup against that Cowboy defense for him. I picked him up, but
Yeah, go ahead.
that's not a game that
That's not a game you're hoping to have to play him in anyway. He has been playing well, as we said, the last month and a half, 2 months or so.
Especially
He's actually
last
played very
weekend.
well.
so
But he's playing Dallas, and Dallas is not a matchup
Right.
anybody wants to deal with. Kansas City, Houston, Kadarius Toney may give it a go today. He's questionable.
that's the matchup right there. That if Andrew was saying, "Hey, what matchup are you looking at?" That's the game that I'm looking at. Even though it would sure be a lot because Damian Pierce is out.
Damian
and so-
Pierce, Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins are all
All
for
out,
Houston. Cooks and
is
Collins are just out with
unfortunate
injury.
Yeah,
Pierce is
because
on
Kansas
IR.
City's defense is
They're
not
one to
in the
play against.
defense because they're 29th against wide receivers, 23rd against running backs, and 29th against quarterbacks.
Yeah, one thing
So-
you've been able to count on so far is that there were going to be points scored in Kansas City games.
That's right.
And
So
fantasy
Chris
points at the
Moore
least.
is the guy that I recommend you pick up off the waiver wire, and so that's a guy that you might want to look at.
Chris
And
Moore's had a couple of flash points this season. He's had a couple of games where he's
He has,
risen to the
especially-
top.
yeah.
He's taken advantage of the situation that's been given to him in the
Right. He had 11 targets,
opportunity.
124 yards,
Yeah.
caught 10 of them.
yeah.
You'll take that
and
every single day of the week.
With
Against
Cooks and Collins, their top two both out. They have not shown any desire whatsoever to actually anoint a starting tight end that they want to throw to. They've got a ton of them to throw.
Yeah.
They've got OJ
Yeah.
Howard. They've got Brevin Jordan. They've got Jordan Akins. Any one of those guys in and of himself would be a capable tight end.
right, and that's an
But
interesting
they're
point.
not-
'Cause
yeah.
I heard that some Yahoo leagues that Driscoll qualifies at quarterback and tight end.
Really?
That's not
Because
the
that's-
case. That's not the case in ESPN league.
No.
So
But-
maybe if you're in Yahoo leagues, that might be something you want to look at because he threw a touchdown, right? This past
Right?
against the Cowboys, and
Well,
And
Houston in the last couple of weeks here. Now they
had
benched
7
Davis
carries.
Mills. They benched Davis Mills. They brought in Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen was apparently not the solution to the
No, he's
problem
not
that
the answer.
Davis Mills was apparently not in the first place anyway. So now they've gone to in the last couple of weeks. They seem like they've gone to this quarterback by committee kind of thing,
right
where like everybody's
rotation,
getting
like
one.
the bullpen. They
Yeah.
signal the bullpen, hey, come on in.
Driscoll has played, Allen has played, Mills has played.
If he's not tight
Um,
and eligible, he is don't do that. Don't add him. Don't
Right.
think about adding him. But if you're in the Yahoo league, that's something you might want to look at.
Yeah, we've seen that trick played before with Taysom Hill, where
Right.
if he has dual
There was a
eligibility.
big controversy about that even last year.
It's not such a big deal when a wide receiver doubles as a tight end, or when a
No.
running back has wide receiver eligibility or whatever as well. That's not
Like
such a big deal
Patterson.
because we expect those We expect
Right.
those
Like
positions to
Patterson
have.
out of Atlanta.
It's nice to have them on your roster if they are scoring, because you have a lot more flexibility between your flex position and a guy that you can plug into either position slot. I mean, with Cordero Patterson, you could play 4 wide receivers in effect if you wanted to on your team, and
That's right.
and only have to have one run. You could be thinner at running back, or vice versa. You could play a ton of running backs and only one wide receiver if you were thin there too. So it's nice to have those guys on your roster. But when a guy is going to get quarterback run, but can be eligible at a different position, that opens up a whole new possibility, because
It does.
to score more points just based on how we use them. Now with Houston, we
Right.
don't, since they're playing they're playing Mills, they're playing Allen, they're playing Driscoll, and probably Matt Schaub, David Carr, and Brock Osweiler might even get some run in this game. Who knows? They'll bring them all back. But
Right.
but it is an intriguing thing to watch, and it's something to kind of keep tabs on here over the last couple of weeks of the regular season, of the NFL regular season, our fantasy playoffs.
Right.
They start to use Driscoll more behind center. That could be a fun development for somebody, especially in this crazy ass tight end landscape.
Right.
With all
Only issue with that is Kansas City's defense is number 1 against tight ends. They suck everywhere else.
Well,
and
so
so
if he gets some run at quarterback, hey,
right.
good to go. You can kind of circumvent that matchup.
But on the other side, if you're got anybody from Kansas City, is Houston absolutely stinks against running back. So if you got Pacheco, if you got McKinnon, you got both of them, get them both in your lineup this week.
Right.
They should run all over Houston this week.
Right. And again, I've made the point before. Is it a function of the fact that teams are always beating them, so they're always running, or what? They do not give up a ton of points in Houston to quarterbacks or wide receivers.
No,
but
they're good. They're pretty good, but you don't have.
I wouldn't say they're good.
No.
I wouldn't say they're. I mean,
well, let's take a look here.
Their matchups are good. Their rankings are.
They're
terrible,
number 1
so the
against
matchup is
quarterbacks, and they're number 5 against wide receivers.
Yeah.
But they're 18th against tight ends. But even so, you are going to start Mahomes. You don't need us to tell you that.
No.
You're going to start by far the number 1 tight end in football. You don't need us to tell you that either.
Yeah, no.
The rest of those guys I wouldn't play any of them.
A team as
against
bad
Houston.
as Houston is, and I'm not letting that matchup.
And
They're number 1 against quarterbacks. I'm not going to let that matchup determine that I'm not playing Patrick Mahomes in that game.
Right, but
in
Pacheco and McKinnon, play them. Get them in your lineup. Absolutely, if you've got either one of them. And if you read my article once again, McKinnon was right there at the top of the list. So
we want to look at the late slate. Tennessee, Treylon Burks is still going to be out with a concussion.
Out.
Dalton Hilliard is sent to IR. So now you do not have your handcuff. The guy that you had been handcuffing King Henry with is no longer the handcuff. We'll have to wait and see whether the actual handcuff becomes Haskins or Chestnut. I liked Haskins early this season because he's a big bruising running back, kind of like King Henry. Take that for how I mean it, everybody. I'm not saying any way, shape, or form that he's King Henry light. I'm just saying he fits that kind of mold where they wouldn't have to change their offensive scheme. Julius Chestnut, however, in the last couple of weeks, seems like he's been getting more run,
right? Especially this time of year, Chestnut.
Chestnut. Yeah. So, but let's take a look, and keep an eye on that, because remember, like I just said, your very capable handcuff to King Henry, who actually Hilliard had some standalone value as well. He's no longer available. He's on IR. He's done for the fantasy season, at least probably the rest of however long the Titans run is. So keep an eye on that, everybody. Josh Jacobs for the Raiders is questionable, but he's been questionable
questionable for like the last 8 weeks or whatever.
He had
so
a
he's
finger
gonna play.
injury. Yeah, his leg is no problem. He's been playing with that designation for weeks now.
Yeah, the
his
quad,
finger got checked out after the game last week, and they said it was fine. He should be able to go, so don't worry about Josh Jacobs. Put him in your lineup, get him going. On the other side of the field, just about everyone who's ever played offense for the Patriots is out or
Out.
questionable.
And so, maybe Andrew's, in his prayer closet right now,
Right.
going over
So-
that. That's too bad, because that would be some nice matchups, I think, this week. But
Damian Harris is out.
Stevenson, questionable.
Damian
And
Harris
he's
is
the guy
definitely
that,
out.
if he's healthy, you want him in your
Oh,
lineup.
you need.
Yep, Harris is out.
If
And
Ramondre Stevenson
Myers
is healthy, you got to get him
out.
in there. Yep. Myers is out with a concussion.
Absolutely.
Parker's out with a concussion. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to be, you know.
If Jones had anybody to throw to, he would be a player that you could get in your lineups, because Las Vegas is a stinkeroo
Right.
when it comes to the quarterback position. But he's got nobody to play. He's got nobody.
If
to
you
throw
can
to.
afford to wait at running back, if you're waiting to see, if you're hoping that Ramondre Stevenson plays, Damian Harris is out. If Ramondre Stevenson is called off and they cannot run him, and he's not a go, now you've got an interesting situation where you probably can pick up Pierre Strong in quite a few leagues.
Probably.
Chances are Pierre Strong is
I'm going to
available
say
in
right
your
now
league.
that's definitely something you could do.
Chances are Pierre Strong is available in most of your leagues. And actually, Kevin
can
Harris
tell you
as
that.
well is probably available a lot now. And they both had some fun run last week. I probably like Strong over Harris.
Absolutely. Pierre Strong is 4.8% owned.
Yeah. So if you're waiting on Ramondre Stevenson, go out, do what you got to do.
Just
You might
make
have to
sure
make a
you've
hard
got
choice,
somebody on your bench
right?
that's not playing till later in the day, because if you got them all playing at noon,
So look out for Pierre
you're locked
Strong.
in there.
If you have Stevenson, if you're waiting on him and you don't have anyone else you can plug in, Latavius Murray or whatever in that Denver game, the same time slot. If you don't have anyone else on your bench that's going in that late slot and you're waiting to see if Stevenson can go, I hope he goes too. Listen, I've got exposure to him too. But Pierre Strong is somebody you can add.
All right. Trevor Lawrence upgraded to active.
Excellent.
There you have it.
Excellent. We don't have to worry about that then. We've all got our starting quarterback that we've
Still,
had.
yeah, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, you probably have to play him. But if not, then there's got to be a better option than him this week.
So you brought up Kansas City and Houston as a matchup that you're looking for some fantasy points to be scored. Is there any other matchup? It's not a great lineup.
There's not.
It's not
Because a lot of these guys that are excellent fantasy potential don't have good matchups.
No.
Such as Jared Goff. He's blown absolute doors off the place the last 3 weeks. 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he's got the Jets. That's not a good matchup.
Defense.
Yeah, that's not a good
And
matchup.
there are not a lot of marquee matchups where we've got two heavyweight, big time teams playing against each other. We don't have that. We don't have that Buffalo Kansas City type matchup. We're not looking at that this week. But it's funny you bring that up, because that is actually my game that I'm watching this week to see what's going to happen with Detroit and the Jets.
Right.
We know
Chark
Detroit
is
can
another
score
guy
points.
that's blown the doors off the place. So
played well lately.
That's a bad
Jameson
matchup
Williams
as well.
is back for them now.
That's right.
And actually, has scored his first touchdown on his first catch last week. It was fun to watch. Good for him. We know Detroit can score some points. We know that New York has a good defense and can stop people. I'm interested to see now, if you haven't been paying any attention, Mike White will not go this week with his rib
He's
injury.
out, that's for sure. Now you got the Wilson show again.
Yep.
Out there. So
Mike White has talked to
any more Wilsons, all right? Zach Wilson. All right. Because he made all Wilsons from coast to coast look bad. 4 weeks ago, whatever that was.
He has not looked good this season, but apparently they have been saying all the right things in terms of they still believe in him and they still think he's the quarterback.
Of course they're going to say that, but what's it like in the actual locker room?
Mike White played well, and apparently he's talked to every single doctor in the Atlantic, on the Atlantic seaboard to try and get cleared for this game and couldn't. So it's going to be the Zach Wilson show today. They don't seem like they're strong on Joe Flacco anymore.
No,
I wouldn't think that Wilson would have I don't know. I don't think they're going to put him on a real short leash. I think that, I don't think they want to play Joe Flacco
going up against the Lions.
And they have to figure out and know if they got anything in him still.
And if he doesn't blow the doors off the place today, they're going right back to White next week.
I I do like
That's
you know,
my prediction with
in
that.
that same game, Corey Davis is out with a concussion,
He's
but
out,
Corey
that's
Davis
right.
had kind of fallen behind Garrett Wilson, Eli
Anyway,
Moore,
so-
even Denzel Mims may get some run today, but yeah, we'll see if Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight can continue his fun run that he's been on lately. Michael Carter, they've got some fun weapons there in New York if they can figure that quarterback situation out.
They
If either
do.
Wilson,
So
if Wilson can
you
look
know,
like
so
a top
Wilson,
5
just
pick
you know,
again,
make sure just make sure your shoelaces are tied when you go out there, and you know, don't step, you know, trip over your own feet, and you should be okay with the weapons that the
Right.
Jets do have.
Right.
So,
Right
in
up.
best ball, in the best ball league, you know, the charity league that we're all in, Zach Wilson has been an absolute no-show.
Right. You've been
But
an empty
he's
spot
back.
on your empty spot on your
He's
roster.
been on my and when he was playing, you know, he was gaining 1.4 inches or whatever it was. So that gives me
Right.
some hope this week in the charity league game, because unbelievably enough, I'm actually in the playoffs over there. So
Yeah. No, yeah. And that I just released the Belly Up Fantasy Live.
Yep.
For anybody
I saw
for anybody that's out there that's watching who's in the Belly Up Bowl, I did release this morning the
I saw
Belly
that,
Up
and
Bowl
I
update.
retweeted that out. So hopefully everybody
Excellent.
saw that.
Yeah, getting down. We're at the time of year where there's not a whole lot of movement or anything in the scoring. I mean, we pretty much know who the top scoring teams are in that, but like you said, you could still win. You can still keep moving up, still keep moving on. So check that out if you're in the Belly Up Bowl, or if you're curious to see how our charity league is coming there. As we raise some money for Alex's Lemonade Stand, great charity.
That's
If
right.
you haven't looked
It
at it,
is.
get over there and look at it and check it
Yeah,
out.
go to their website. They're a great
Give
charity
what you
for-
can
for-
there.
for the kids. So yeah.
So we talked about the Houston quarterback situation with every quarterback that they've had playing for them. We talked about Zach Wilson. Now Desmond Ridder is going to be starting for the Falcons. They have made a change at quarterback, and
That's right.
Weird situation kicking Mariota out.
So and Mariota, he just walked out.
Right. Yeah. Well,
And-
limped out
and-
apparently because he's got an issue that he has to get taken care of with surgery, supposedly.
Hopefully
So
that's
he's-
what it is, and he didn't walk out because he didn't have a
I would
starting
hope
job
so,
anymore.
because honestly, I think my uninformed, opinion. I'm not an insider here. I'm not in the
Right.
building for the
That's
Falcons,
right.
and
So
I'm not
we're
watching
talking
every
any
single
coaches or
snap.
any-
But I think Mariota showed he can still play this year. I think he showed he still has something to offer in the league. And maybe better as a backup quarterback, but I think he showed he has something to play for. But if you are literally walking out on teammates, that doesn't bode well for his
No,
his
so
future.
that needs to be clarified.
Right.
because
I
if
would
he-
like to know exactly what did happen there.
Like you said, if it was an injury, and I also heard there was some kind of family stuff going on there.
Yeah, who knows?
So if any of that is true, then his agent needs to be on the out there, making sure this is public information, because
Yeah.
his client is not looking good.
Right now he's kind of looking like the villain in that whole scenario.
Right.
Looks like it's going to be Baker Mayfield for the Rams going forward for the rest of the season. I don't blame them. I would not
Right.
I would not put Matthew Stafford back out there and risk that. I think that between the two options that you have, or three, I guess you could say, Mayfield looks like he probably gives you the best chance to win. He pulled it off last week.
Maybe going up against Green Bay is not a recipe for success. I don't think.
No, it's not. I think he may come back down to earth this week, but we'll see. I mean, hey, it's not like the Packers have been a dominant juggernaut this season, so we'll see. Mitch Trubisky, we mentioned earlier, he'll be starting for Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett is out. The word on that, though, is that Trubisky may not have a real long leash. They've already seen what they need to see out of him, so Mason Rudolph may be on standby.
Well, they know
so keep an eye
exactly
on
what
that.
they got in Mason, Rudolph. I'm not buying that story at all.
They saw it for the first month and a half of the season. So
And
with
he's been
Pickett,
on their roster for 3 years now, or whatever it is. So they know what they've got
if
in him by now.
if Trubisky falters early against Carolina in a game that honestly the Steelers should win, in a game the Steelers should win.
Should win.
If Trubisky falters early, yeah, don't be surprised to see Mason Rudolph there. So if you are in a 2-quarterback league or whatever, or you had been desperately looking for a quarterback because you lost, Lamar.
Hopefully
and
the
else.
Trubisky is not your answer.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, yeah, do not be. Hopefully you're not putting all your eggs in the Trubisky basket because he may or may not.
Hopefully
play that whole game.
Trubisky's not the answer. Hopefully Ritter's not the answer, and hopefully Colt McCoy is not the answer.
Right. All right. We're gonna have our second break here. We're gonna listen to our True Classic spot here, and then when we come back on the other side, we'll finish up here talking about all the news that is news here around the league.
Football is back, baby, and our new sponsor, True Classic, wants you to look and feel your best even after a couple of brewskis or going full force on your fantasy football draft. Sure, it's football season, but it's also butt to couch season. Luckily, True Classic has the absolute best fitting clothing a man can buy. Snug in the arms and chest with a little extra space in the torso, their t-shirts are designed to keep you cozy and highlight your best assets no matter what you're up to. So if your special someone is upset that you're watching football all day, at least you can look good doing it. True Classic has already helped over 2 million men find the perfect fit at an affordable price. Our listeners get access to the best deal they offer. For a limited time only, get 25% off with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at TrueClassic.com. Almost all men's t-shirts are designed to look good on skinny models with six-packs, but most of us aren't packing anything but a few beers. Fellas, you are wearing the wrong clothes. True Classic tees taper off towards the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. It's time to highlight your best attributes with a t-shirt you can always confidently throw on. It's about time to get your fit together, so upgrade your wardrobe with True Classic and get 25% off at TrueClassic.com with promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. Free shipping included on purchases over $100. That's 25% off at TrueClassic.com with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. If there's one bet you should make this football season, it's on True Classic. True Classic, look good, feel good.
All right. Welcome back. Thank you for that, Dan Mader, and thank you for that True Classic. Again, get some if you don't have any.
Get some. Right. The wife loves it in the promo.
You will be much more popular around your own house if you pick up some of that. All right. So looking at the rest of the slate now, we've had a couple of updates, by the way, player-wise.
Yes,
we talked about the tight end situation in Houston. OJ Howard is out, which takes away one of their options there. I like Brevin Jordan as a receiving player more in real life. I like Jordan Akins better from a tight end standpoint in fantasy if you need one. Hopefully you're looking elsewhere, though, because Houston is not good. Kadarius Toney has been
that's right. He's
healthy.
Active, as is Laviska Shenault active.
And DJ Moore is a go. So
DJ Moore. Let's see what else we got here. So that's the latest, greatest. Yep. Hayden Hurst out. So the tight end position is still
thin.
And it's like Jenga, and one more block you pull, and the whole thing's coming down.
Because with Higgins and Boyd are both banged up a little bit now, and that's been such a great passing offense. Joe Burrow needs 3 touchdowns to reach 30 touchdowns for the season, and if he does that, he will be the first Bengals quarterback in history to have multiple 30 touchdown seasons. Carson Palmer never did it. Ken Anderson never did it. Boomer Esiason never did it. They have.
Yeah, you would think with a name like Boomer, he might have done that.
The Red Rifle never did it. Yeah, I mean, they have not had a quarterback throw for multiple 30 touchdown seasons. And Joe Burrow here is in, what is this, his third
season? Year, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, you got the guy, you found him. And luckily the knee injury does not appear to have slowed him down at all. He seems like he's no worse for wear. In fact,
fortunately they're not stacking him 28 times a game either. So
right. No, they look like they're headed in the right direction there, but you found the guy, Cincinnati. So be happy with that, because you have definitely one of the better young quarterbacks up and coming in the league. I love him. I've got him on in the keeper league that I'm in, that I won last season, and I'm number 1 seed right now on the bye.
Right.
He's been my quarterback for the last 2 years, and I'm pleased as punch with that. So, looking now ahead here for the rest of the Sunday slate here. Afternoon slate, Arizona, Denver is not very exciting. New England, Las Vegas isn't very exciting. Cincinnati at Tampa Bay maybe could be, but Tampa Bay has not been good.
Depends on what Tampa team shows up over there.
Right. Are they going? Yeah. Are they
Right.
going to actually play some football down there in Tampa Bay? But Tennessee Chargers could be fun.
Could be fun. Don't need us to tell you about Henry, of course.
Yeah,
And
right.
so get him in your lineup, of course. You don't need us to tell you that. Let's see.
No, the
We
Chargers.
have not talked about the most interesting name in the history of names, I think.
Oh, go for it.
And that is what is it? Chigozie
Okonkwo.
Okonkwo.
I
right.
love Chigozie Okonkwo.
Is that a great name or what right there?
Chigo
And so,
Okonkwo is a guy that I was grabbing real late in dynasty drafts. I'm in 7 dynasty leagues, and he was a guy that I was targeting in a lot of them late. I just love his size. I love his athleticism, and they have an opening there. It's a team that has traditionally liked the tight end position, Tennessee.
Absolutely.
And he's by far the most athletic tight end on that roster.
So you got to make a decision which tight end you like more, because Hooper had an interesting game himself last week.
I'm sure Austin Hooper's a good dude, and his mother loves him.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he'll have some nice presents on Christmas,
Yeah.
but
between the two of them, I would take Okonkwo.
actually all 6 targets, catches, touchdown. So that is something you could take a look at. So even though the Chargers, that's not a favorable matchup against the tight end for the Chargers.
Not against tight ends, it's not.
They're the 14th. That's mediocre. But the other areas, when you look at this, even quarterbacks are 18th, so that's pretty good. 27th against running backs. Henry is going to blow their doors off.
I don't have to tell you that.
And they're 12th against wide receivers. So
it would be a big day for Henry, not just
big day for Henry, maybe not so big for the other guys. So, if you need a tight end, who doesn't at this point in the season?
Right.
Okonkwo is a guy that you could certainly look at. And as soon as I learned how to actually spell this guy's name, you could probably imagine he might be in one of my articles upcoming. So
if just mash the keyboard, see what shakes out. But Okonkwo is a guy I like because he is so explosive at the tight end position. Remember, he opened that game a couple of weeks ago where they threw the very first pass of the game to him. He took it for like 40-some yard gain. It was fun to watch. And then he basically didn't see the ball the rest of the game. I thought, what are you doing? You already know what the guy can do. You've just seen what he can do against this defense. Yeah. If I were them, especially with Treylon Burks out, you need a red zone target. Red zone targets, tight ends.
Who else are you going to put in there? Not Woods. Don't tell me Woods.
I'm definitely not telling you Woods.
I'm not saying you, but anybody that's thinking that,
right?
Don't go there.
No, I do like him, and you brought up Austin. We've seen Austin Hooper in the past be a very good tight end. He is a good tight end. He's a good tight end from an NFL standpoint, but he is not the explosive receiving option. He's a steady receiving option,
right?
And he's a
very in the tight end position. How many explosive players do you have there?
And Okonkwo's not giant. He's not Jelani Woods. He's not 6'7". He's only I think he's 6'3".
That'll do.
He's not
at the tight end. 6'3" will do.
It'll do. He's not a giant, but
no.
I like Chigozie Okonkwo because I think that from a tight end position, he is one of the tight ends in this league that can score from between the 20s. He doesn't have to have the red zone looks. He's not Dawson Knox, who did score last night.
Right.
But he's not Dawson Knox where he needs those red zone looks to get in the end zone. Okonkwo can take it in from the 35.
Yeah. No, Okonkwo is 14.3% owned.
No. Yeah. He's available.
He is certainly available. And if he does anything today, like I said, you can expect it. You'll see him in an article upcoming.
Definitely. So. I brought him up in a dynasty from a dynasty angle. Again, I'll beat that drum for a while. There were some good tight ends in this draft, in this year's draft, there are some good tight ends that are emerging from the rookie class. Trey McBride is still he's not in an offense that has used the tight end, but he still is the same prospect that he was. Greg Dulcich looks like he's going to have some run in Denver, but Jelani Woods at 6'7" and can run like the wind. At 6'7", Jelani Woods in Indianapolis and Chigo Okonkwo there in Tennessee, both of them from the AFC South. Those are four guys between McBride, Dulcich, Woods, and Okonkwo that I really like going forward. And we haven't even mentioned guys like
Ray of Sunshine.
We haven't even mentioned Jeremy Ruckert in New York, who hasn't really played much for the Jets. Cade Otton, who
and we haven't
has
talked
played a
about
lot.
Daniel Bellinger either.
Daniel Bellinger for the Giants, who has looked good when he's been healthy, but has had a rough go of it. He is questionable again today with.
And I've got him in
injury.
One of my dynasty fantasy leagues. So if he ever steps up,
he just came back from a shattered eye socket, which
that's all.
That's a face changer. you don't look the same after you shatter your eye socket. You kind of like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, unfortunately, was that about 3 months ago? My mom actually fell and did that.
Really,
and it was pretty nasty. So
that's a rough injury. But we haven't even brought him up. We haven't talked about Cade Otton down in Tampa Bay, who has looked really good. They've got another rookie there, Kokeith, too, who has actually caught a couple of balls. But I like Cade Otton going forward when they finally move on from the Cameron Brate experience.
Yeah, could they please just park his car at the curb?
There were some good rookie tight ends in this draft. I really think that's a strong position going forward. If you can grab one or two of those guys, or if you did grab one or two of those guys, say in Dynasty, you may not have to worry about that position for quite a while. You can kind of move on and spend your capital elsewhere. Yeah.
And for those, because I just, on Facebook, there was this petition going around that the tight end position should be taken out of fantasy football. I say absolute, that's nonsense. It's part of football, right? If you're going to play fantasy football, play it correctly, have a tight end position, have a defense, and have a kicker. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
It's part of the game. I get that kickers are even more so than any of the other positions. I get that kickers are completely volatile. And just because Justin Tucker is hands down the best kicker on the planet doesn't mean that he's always the best option fantasy-wise. I get that just because, Harrison Butker plays for a high-scoring offense, he's not going to be necessarily a high-scoring
Right. Sometimes that's a detriment. Right, because you're kicking extra points and not field goals.
Yeah, you're kicking 4 kicks a game, and 3 of them are extra points, as opposed to the guy whose offense is,
maybe the kicker for Denver, and they kick 3 field goals, and they lose, but you got 3. That's 9 fantasy points there.
Yeah, it's worth taking a look at things like what team has the lowest red zone percentage at touchdowns and things like that, grabbing those kinds of kickers and then playing matchups. Streaming kicker is a good strategy if you can play it right. You have to do a lot of research to do it well, and it's still a volatile position. I typically tend to be one who I just want to I want to see who's available in the top 10, grab the guy and let him
plug him in and boom.
Yeah, plug him in, set it, forget it for a while because it is so hard to play the matchups.
Don't talk to me about eliminating kickers, and don't talk to me about eliminating defenses, and don't talk to me about eliminating tight ends. Because
having kickers in your league can be frustrating, but at the same time, it's a bit of an equalizer.
It can be. Yeah, it can be because there are kickers that might come away with 20 points. And then your starting wide receiver gets you just 6, and so that balances things out sometimes.
Right.
So
it's a bit of an equalizer, and sure, you can think that that's frustrating if you felt like you drafted better than everybody else, and the 1 week that you needed it, Nick Chubb ran for 33 yards.
That's fantasy sports right there.
That is how it works.
That's the way it works in baseball, hockey, basketball, whatever you might be. In baseball, I was the number 1 seed in both of my fantasy leagues. Get to the playoffs, and I come across a hot team, and I'm all done. And I finished 2nd and 3rd in both leagues. So That's why you play the game, not because you want to make sure you're the champion every single week, but
yeah, it's the fight. It's the fight, the journey, and, it's the fun of being in it and competing with your friends. Yeah.
So
nope, very much so. All right, we're gonna wrap this up here real quick. Looking forward, the only injury news, the fun injury news, I guess that you could say from Monday night is that David Bakhtiari will not play for the Packers on the offensive line, but on the other side of the line, neither will Aaron Donald play for the Rams. So that will make the Green Bay offensive line's job much easier.
The Rams, man, you talk about a locomotive that lost, all its wheels.
Yeah, they went.
The Rams, that's them. So
yeah, and they've had some injury issues, but honestly, I think
sure have.
I think for the most part, it stems back to their offensive line. I think their struggles. They really missed Andrew Whitworth when he retired, and they never really replaced him.
Well, they didn't have the assets.
No,
really, because they went all in last year, which you can't blame them. They won the championship.
No,
so
I think that
6 games this year, it's worth it.
Yeah, the whole F them picks philosophy. Hey, they did it better than anybody else has, and they got it their championship out of it. And
right. So if they finish the next 3 years, it's worth it.
It's the exact opposite of the strategy that I always see. Funny enough, they're playing each other this week, but it's the exact opposite of the strategy that we see in Green Bay every year, where Green Bay is trying to be competitive every single year. And because of that, they are very, very, very loath to part with future draft picks, future capital. They're always trying to look ahead. And that's been frustrating in some ways because they've had literally 30 plus years of Hall of Fame quarterback play.
Absolutely.
I'm 44 years old, and for most of my life, I've been watching a Hall of Fame quarterback.
What, since 1990, 3?
90,
is that
92,
what it is?
92?
Okay, 92.
Favre came in for him.
Up till to today.
So 30 years.
Right.
Literally. And you don't get that everywhere. Unless you've been cheering for New England, you don't get that kind of consistency at the quarterback position. You can say what you want about Aaron Rodgers. Trust me, I've been watching it. I see it. I know how he is and who he is. Okay. You can say what you want about Brett Favre and all the interceptions that he threw and everything else on the field, off the field. I'm not talking about text messages
we're not going
and
off
taking
the
money
field.
from
We're
poor
not
people.
touching any of that.
But Packer fans have been spoiled with 3 decades
Absolutely.
of Hall of Fame quarterback play, right?
That's right.
But we've got 2 Super Bowl titles and 3 Super Bowl appearances to show for it. And that's better than a lot of teams. It's better than a lot of teams. Ask the Lions or the Jaguars or anybody else like that if they would take that. Ask the Browns if they would take that, right? My other favorite team.
Yeah, the Browns have never been, let alone 2 in the last 20 years, whatever it is.
Ask the Vikings if they would take 2 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 wins in the last 30 years. And I don't say that to rag on the Vikings being a Packer fan, but I'm saying it's been a fun run, but there could have been so much more if occasionally
they
every
had gone
5
out
years or so they'd pull the Los Angeles Rams,
right.
move.
And maybe if they went out and got somebody like Randy Moss instead of the Patriots, or
right?
grab one of 1,000
guys,
moves they could have made.
Go all in, win your championship.
Right.
Now
they
you suffer for 3 or 4 years with 7 wins.
They got to the playoffs every year, but one play or 2
still
plays
got that quarterback.
Undid them.
You've still got that quarterback. 4 years from now, 5 years from now, run it back again. They could have made multiple Super Bowl appearances in that time, or at least they would have set themselves up for it. Heck, the way they're doing things, they've got there in the championship game. But the Rams really did, put it all together perfectly with that whole philosophy.
They got the players they needed, and they got the production they needed, and when they needed it,
and
they won a championship, and they went to the Super Bowl 2 years before that.
Right.
So,
no, they've done it right, and so they're fun to watch that way.
And I don't like to talk about the Rams because that's, of course, my second, but it's number 2 nemesis behind the 49ers, because the 49ers are the most hated team in all the land right? In all the universe, not just the land.
I think they're, regardless of what they've got for draft capital, if the Rams can put together an offensive line here going forward, that has to be, I think, priority number one for them.
It has
Put
to
together
be,
an offensive
no matter
line,
who you have at quarterback, you get sacked
right?
34 times a game.
Yeah,
And
definitely. No,
you know,
put together an offensive line, and then you can make another run at it if you want to trade all of you 2026 and 2027 and 2028 draft picks away. Do that, but you've got to take the next year or 2 or 3 and build that offensive line up and get that right. You've got some young weapons, you've got some good weapons. Put that offensive line together and get it going. All right, let's move on and let's talk about where can we find you, Kevin, and what have you got going on right now on bellyupfantasysports.com.
well, we got you always get me at Twitter's Kevin62 WILSEA, and you can always throw me a question on Facebook, whatever you might want to do over there. And as I mentioned, my article, first round fantasy, waiver pickups is live right now, and there's still some players on there that you can go and look at and pick up before the games start today. And there'll be another one. You can be relatively sure it'll be out there maybe tomorrow, but at the very latest on Tuesday. And so the ones that advance and win today's games that are in the semifinals can look forward to an article to see who should I pick up. And just remember, next week, most of the NFL games are on Saturday next week. So
yes,
that's something that you want to definitely make sure. Yeah, make sure your lineups are set Saturday morning. Otherwise, you'll be crying by the time Sunday rolls around.
That's right. You got to watch out for that this time of year. The 3 games yesterday kind of button hooked some people.
Yeah, they're only, speaking of Christmas Day, there are only 5 games.
Yeah,
on Christmas. Yeah. So don't wait till Sunday morning to say, well, let me set my lineup, because that'll be way too late.
All right, and I'll echo Kevin's sentiments as well. Yeah, get over to bellyupfantasysports.com. Check out all the great content we got over there. My rankings are up. You've got less than an hour, but you can still check the rankings.
Are up too, I believe.
You can still make those pickups. You can still get your lineup set for success and give it your best shot here in the opening week of fantasy playoffs, or possibly in some leagues the last weekend of your regular season if your league only takes 4 teams to the playoffs. But get over to bellyupfantasysports.com. Check out that content. Check out the other great podcasts that are on the network there. And we will see you again. I will see you again Wednesday night. You can check for my you can check for my columns all week long though. And we will see you then Wednesday night. Good luck to everybody today.
Everybody have a great week.
Let's hope we all can end up.
Yeah, we'll have some happy things to talk about next week. Everybody's advancing in the playoffs. So.
And Duck, good luck to everything.
That's right. Got going Duck, on. Come out of your prayer closet, Duck, and go ahead and watch the game. It'll be okay.
All right, folks. Have a good Sunday.
All right, you see ya.